So, how do you create pure, unforgettable terror in just a few short pages? Well, we're about to break down a masterclass in building fear. We'll see how atmosphere, character conflict, and one impossible mystery can set the stage for something truly horrifying. Let's get into it. The story kicks off with what sounds like a simple fact from a seasoned veteran. The mission's over. The bad guys are dead. It feels like the end of a chapter, right? But you just know these words aren't an ending. They're that quiet moment, that ominous lull right before the storm hits. And boom, with one soft question, the story's engine just ignites. The young commander, Sir Waymar Royce, he's not satisfied. He wants proof. And that single demand, that one little push for certainty, that's the spark that lights the fuse, dragging the characters and us way deeper into the darkness. Okay, first, let's get our bearings. Our characters are Rangers of the Night's Watch, the guys who guard the kingdom. But they are a long, long way from the safety of their giant ice fortress, the Wall. They're deep inside the haunted forest, and trust me, that name isn't just for show. This is hostile territory, and they are very far from home. What's so brilliant here is how the environment itself basically becomes a character. The cold isn't just a temperature, it's a threat. The wind makes the trees sound alive, and not in a good way. And the darkness isn't just dark, it has an edge. The scout, Will, he feels like he's being watched. It's just masterful atmospheric writing. You can feel the dread building before you even know what you're supposed to be afraid of. The first threat these guys face isn't something supernatural. It's each other. The author sets up this fantastic source of tension. The command structure is a total mess. This isn't some well-oiled team. It's a powder keg of youth versus experience, arrogance versus resentment, and it's just waiting to blow. I mean, look at this dynamic. You've got Royce, this noble kid who's barely been in the watch 6 months, basically cosplaying as a commander. Then you've got Garrett, a 40-year veteran who hates taking orders from this boy. And poor Will, our eyes and ears, is stuck right in the middle, sensing that this tension is just as dangerous as anything else in the forest. And if you want a perfect snapshot of Royce's character, look no further than this. A sable cloak, soft as sin. It's luxurious, it's expensive, and it's completely useless for the frozen north. It just screams vanity. It shows you just how dangerously out of his depth he really is. And then you have Garrett. His experience isn't hanging on his shoulders in a fancy cloak, no. It's literally carved into his body. Missing fingers, missing toes, all sacrificed to the cold that he rightfully fears. This isn't just a backstory. It's physical proof of the stakes, a danger that Royce just waves away. The difference between these two could not be more clear. So Royce's arrogance pushes them forward. He has to see the scene for himself, forcing them to investigate this mystery. And it's here that the clues start pointing to something not just wrong, but fundamentally broken. Okay, so let's run through the evidence Will brings back. 8 bodies, but 0 blood. A freezing cold camp, but no sign of a fire. He says they're lying in a way that's unnaturally still. And here's the real kicker. A valuable, heavy battle axe just left there. No wildling, no raider would ever leave behind a weapon like that. It just doesn't add up. So Garrett, the old veteran, he gives them the only answer that makes any kind of sense. He describes freezing to death not as an accident, but as an enemy. It's this chilling, poetic idea of the cold getting inside you and filling you up. It's terrifying, it's visceral, and for a second, you think, yeah, that has to be it. But then Royce, the arrogant kid, he does something, well, brilliant. He asks a really clever question. What was the wall doing? And Will says it was weeping, melting a bit. And Royce just pounces on it. If the massive wall of ice itself was melting, it wasn't nearly cold enough to freeze 8 people solid. And just like that, he completely shatters the only logical explanation, leaving them staring right at the impossible. Royce gives the order. They're going to see for themselves. You can just feel the tension ratcheting up as they climb the ridge and look down into the camp. And this is where the story takes its first truly terrifying turn. And there it is, stark, simple, and totally impossible. The clearing is empty. those 8 bodies Will saw just hours ago, just gone. And you feel this right along with Will, that feeling of your heart just stopping in your chest. And this isn't some cheap jump scare. This is way, way deeper. This is that stomach-dropping horror when you realize the basic rules of the world have just been broken. This is the final nail in the coffin of logic. Royce can try to laugh it off, say they just moved camp, but this one object proves he's wrong. That axe is sitting there, just screaming that whatever did this, it wasn't human. So the mystery is over, and now the confrontation begins. Will is hiding up in a tree, Royce is standing out in the open, and the true enemy finally shows itself. And what steps out of the shadows is beyond anything they could have possibly imagined. So, these beings, the others, the way they're described is just so unsettling and yet weirdly beautiful. They move silently. Their armor shifts color like moonlight on water. Their swords aren't made of metal. They look like shards of living crystal. And their eyes burn with this unnatural icy blue. That's the part that gets you. This is pure nightmare fuel. Now, to his credit, Royce doesn't run. He actually meets his fate with a challenge. Dance with me then. But this isn't a normal duel. When their blades meet, there's no clang of steel. It's a high, thin sound, like an animal screaming. And then the ultimate horror for a knight, Royce's steel sword doesn't just chip or break. It shatters into 100 tiny pieces, totally useless. The fight was over before it even started. The duel ends exactly how it had to. Royce is cut down. Will stays hidden, paralyzed with fear, until the woods go silent again. He thinks it's all over. But of course, there's one last horrifying twist waiting for us. And for just a sec,